Hi everyone, here I am once again, Himanshu Sehgal. Um, as promised in my last introduction video, I said that I'll be talking about competitive intelligence. So here I am talking about CI or competitive intelligence. Its nuances, what it entails, what it has, how it is done. So I'll give you a brief overview, and this is going to be from the perspective of from a pharma industry point of view. Obviously, competitive intelligence is pretty much same across the industry. The rules, the regulations, the nuances are going to be pretty much same. It's just that I'll be using more examples. I'll be using examples from the pharma domain or from the pharma industry. Um, but yes, I'll be happy to answer any questions which are beyond pharma in terms of basic. But again, my knowledge and it's all around pharma and life sciences domain. So, before I talk about competitive intelligence, um, I'd like to talk about two great philosophers, teachers, strategists. One is Sun Tzu. He's a Chinese philosopher, Chinese strategist. He wrote a book called Art of War. Um, and our Indian, strategist, political strategist, and war strategist, Acharya Chanakya. He was the guru or the teacher of Chandragupta Maurya, the great leader. So they both of them, in their own eras, in their own time periods, they both have said this one thing. And I'm not directly quoting the phrase. I'm just telling you the inference that knowing your enemy is the half battle won. So it is all about understanding your competition. If you understand your competition, you have you have already won the half battle. The reason is because you if you know what they are doing, then you'll know how can we counter it, how can we make our own path, how can we make our own strategy, uh, go to market strategy. So but in today's corporate complex, CI is not just only about knowing your competitor. First of all, nobody is anyone's competitor. Enemy. Sorry, everyone is everyone's competitor, but no one is anyone's enemy for that matter. But yeah, just to because the phrase was written not in the pharma corporate sense, but it was written in the combat sense. So yeah, that's the reason. Now let's go one by one. What is competition? What is competitive intelligence? Uh, who does that, and all those kind of things. So now first talking about competitive intelligence. So as the name says, competitive intelligence is all about knowing your competition, a knowledge about your competition, knowledge about the people whom you are going to compete in. So taking an example, um, for let's say, okay, let's take a very generic example. See, if you are going to run a race, okay, if you're for a race, you would love to know, because you want to create a strategy, you want to formulate your own strategy, you would love to know, or you would be interested to know who all are you competing with, what are their averages, what are their running speed. So if you're running a marathon, then in that case, you want to know their speed, what's the distance like, how many hurdles are there, and all those sort of things. And that's what competitive intelligence is all about. So if a pharma product is getting launched or about to get launched, company would like to know who all are their competitors. Then they would like to know what are the regulatory guidelines, regarding that therapy area, that indication, approval trends, all those sort of things. Then they would also like to know what are the trade issues. So when I say trade issues, I mean what are the unmet needs of that domain. What are patients thinking? And doctors, HCPs, guidelines, and so on and so forth. So we obviously over the time we are going to talk about all of those things. It's just that today I'm going to be talking about the definition and the basics of it. So when I talk about competition, there are two types of two ways to categorize them. Firstly, and the first way of categorizing them is direct competitors and indirect competitors. So how do you define it? So when I say direct competitor, I try to tell you that these are the molecules or these are the products whom you're directly competing with, or pharma companies are competing with. So just to give you one example. So for example, direct competitor. I have a drug which is an IgA nephropathy. Okay, I am a pharma company. I have a product which is an IgA nephropathy. For me, direct competitors would be products which will be in IgA nephropathy, which are being assessed, which are marketed in IgA nephropathy, are my direct competitors. But now there are indirect competitors. When I say indirect competitors, mean again there are certain products which are not being assessed in IgA nephropathy, but they could be being assessed in let's say non-diabetic CKD, any product, or C3G, lupus nephritis. So those products are in nephrology area or nephrology therapy area, but these products are not directly into IgA nephropathy. But these products can always come into IgA nephropathy. Once they are approved, they can do their post hoc analysis or do their R&D and then start a trial, start a investigation in IgA nephropathy. So they are a potential indirect competitors at the moment. Soon they can become a direct competitor, but at the moment these are indirect competitors. Now with another example, another scenario. Let's say okay, lung cancer. Lung cancer is a very good example because the area is way too vast, way too big. So in lung cancer, there are molecules which are being assessed or which are already launched in first line, second line, third line. And then there are molecules which are biomarker specific, like EGFR mutated, ROS1 positive, or so and so forth. So who becomes direct competitors or who become indirect competitors? So again, thinking I am a pharma company, I have a product which is a small molecule which is into first line. So who are my direct competitors? So as a company, I should be thinking in first line. So for example, all the marketed and pipeline products in the first line are my direct competitors, whether it's small molecule or biologic. Then there also is an option that I know, because small molecule could be, they have a different mechanism of action or the way of working. Plus, they are ROAs, their route of administration is usually oral. If my molecule is oral, for example, so I would consider, probably I could come and consider that, okay, only oral molecules, oral small molecules are my direct competitors in first line, whereas ADCs, biologics, cell and gene therapy are my indirect competitors. That could be one thing. Then I can, but it depends sometime on clients also, and in this scenario also. See, if it is a rare disease like an IgA nephropathy, then the scenario is usually direct and indirect competitions are within the therapy area and outside the therapy area, because the molecules numbers are very limited. But for a disease area or for a therapy area or indication, rather I would say indication like NSCLC, the scope is vast. Then direct and indirect competitions are usually, the directs are same line of therapy, approved molecules or pipeline molecules, and then indirect molecules can be which are in other line of therapy. So for example, an indirect competitor could be someone in the second line, someone in the third line, or new adjuvant line of therapy molecules. So those are the direct and indirect competitions. So now a second categorization. In the second categorization, there are, again, I've divided them into two sort of competitors based on their sizes. So one is a big competitor, a company like Novartis, Pfizer, AbbVie, Astela, Roche, those sort of companies. And then there are smaller, competitors. Uh, in smaller, I have already included mid-size pharma companies, and I'll tell you the reason behind it. So see, in smaller, so both have their own advantages and disadvantages. With smaller companies, the advantages, or for them advantages, but for us to consider as a CI professional, for us to consider is that these companies are mostly agile, fast, quick decision takers. uh, they have a lot of a lot of they're focused because they have only one molecule, or two molecules for that matter. Whereas if you go for with the big company, or a big competitor like Novartis or Pfizer or something, a behemoth like them, um, the problem is they have their own processes, they have multiple teams within the therapy area. So even if there is an SCLC, they have 2 to 3 molecules. So the decision taking takes a little more time, but the advantageous side for them is that they have a lot of funds, which you as a competitor would make a difference. If you're a small company competing with a company like Novartis or a Pfizer, then it would make a difference for you that you are competing with whom. Are you competing with all small companies, or are you competing with big behemoths like Novartis or Pfizer's of the world? The reason is they can fund their team, they can spend a lot of money which you probably don't have. So this is a categorization. Now let's talk about how CI works. So to track these, to track these direct and indirect competitions to big and small competition. Usually, pharma companies outsource this work to CI agencies or boutique CI consulting, basically, something like ours, like Octopus Consulting. What we do is we look at the competitive landscape. What is competitive landscape? Direct, indirect competitor, big, small competitor, regulatory updates, trade issues, unmet needs. This is all a competitor landscape, basically. So this is called a competitor landscape. So we look at the competitor landscape from the outside perspective, from the 360 view, a view which gives you a clarity, which gives you a wholesome picture. That's the reason we have said it as a landscape. Why we all use a word landscape? Because if we go to the literal meaning of a landscape, and you imagine it, you see a picture where there is meadows, land, trees, and you're standing outside from some platform and viewing that place, viewing that landscape, that scene, which gives you overall picture of you can say that there are 20 trees and so on and so forth. So that's the reason we call it a landscape, because it gives you a 360 view. It gives you overview. Whereas for a pharma company, it becomes slightly difficult. Why? Because they are in the center of that landscape, basically. So they probably might not be able to see from the outside side perspective. Secondly, they obviously can hire people. They can hire people at a much better salaries, or much better experienced people. But again, the problem comes is that biasness. So a pharma executive or a pharma company employee would think it twice to give a negative perspective, whereas we as a vendor, it's our responsibility to be unbiased, to give you a critical, to give pharma clients a critical view, to give pharma clients a 360 view of the landscape. CI is always misread about, just being landscape thing, just being, putting the landscape in a bullseye or a stack up chart and just doing company profiles. But it is beyond that. It is beyond the the only landscaping kind of a thing. It's also about knowing the intricacies, or very small bits of your competitor. So we do competitor analysis. When we do competitor analysis, we do a deep dive um, into each competition. So yes, I'm back. So yeah. So yeah, we do analysis. We do deep dive into each competition. Like for example, for me as a pharma company, if Novartis or Pfizer is a competitor who already have a marketed product, I will look into their financials, the sales of the product, because if the sales are higher, then R&D spend, or influx of money for that brand would be higher. Um, I'll also look into the org structure of the team which is supporting that brand. I will also look into the R&D spends, which I've already spoken about. I'll also look into what are the future plans of that product, and a lot of things basically. So now question comes is, why would a pharma company give this to an outside agency? So I've already told you two, three things. Then you will ask me that they can hire people internally and ask them to be very critical, about the competition, about the product. But then comes the law. So now coming to the parts of CI. So CI is done in two parts. One is human intelligence, which is we call primary intelligence gathering, and then there is called secondary research. Secondary research is an existing research. So to go into deep dive of both of them, or to give more detail on both of them, let's talk first about primary research. So as the name suggests, primary research is directly from the sources. So for primary research, we usually talk to directly, we gather information directly from the people, and that's what is primary intelligence is all about. So there are multiple stakeholders, or people whom we talk to, like for example, clinical trial principal investigators, nurses who are involved in those trials, uh, nurses at the hospital who are, if the molecule is approved, nurses at the hospital who are administrating that drug, pharma executives, sales executives of the competitor product company, going to their booths during the conferences and talking to the competitors executives, that intelligence, talking to various doctors who might not be KOLs, or key opinion leaders, but they are, in case of again marketed drugs, they are prescribing that drug. In case of unmarketed drug, you talk to different doctors, do market research, and get the intelligence from them that what are the unmet needs. So those sort of things are also there. So this is primary intelligence gathering. Then comes secondary intelligence. So one thing you need to understand is that secondary intelligence is everywhere. Anywhere you go, everything is a secondary intelligence. When you talk about, because secondary intelligence is all about published information. So when I have published some information, it was not meant for doing CI. It was actually meant for doing something else. But I am utilizing to gather that intelligence. I am utilizing that information to make it an intelligence and create a insights for my client. So insights is another part which I'll talk about a little later. So insight for our clients. Now, secondary intelligence, secondary sources could be your published data like PubMeds, your clinical trials, your FDA reports or FDA websites, company websites, PRs, press releases, then companies' annual reports, SEC filings. So these are all secondary sources, and we gather information from all these places to create information intelligence, and then we utilize that in LinkedIn, social media, your Twitter. So these are also platforms from where we gather intelligence, and we gather this intelligence and then we process it, analyze it basically, and sometimes combine it with our primary intelligence, corroborate it with primary intelligence, and then present it in front of our client and tell them that what are the insights. So insights is or implications are basically. Um, you have gathered the information, but how this is going to be impacting my client's brand. If he is a marketed product, how the new upcoming product is going to be impacting him. Then if he is a pipeline product, then how many competitors are coming around the time he is about to launch, or how many products are already launched. So those sort of intelligence or those sort of information is something what we deliver it to our client, and with insights, with intelligence and with insights gathered from multiple places. Now again coming back, in between I left the issue of law. So there are corporate espionage laws which prohibits one pharma company gathering primary intelligence from another pharma company's executives, their trial sites, and those sort of information, those sort of platforms. That's the reason they reach out to us. These pharma companies, these customers, these clients reach out to us, and other people, other agencies as well, and ask them to gather this intelligence and deliver them this intelligence as the knowledge, as insights. Usually these clients, our clients, pharma companies, one pharma company, they cannot use our provided information to initiate a lawsuit or to take legal actions. They can use it to understand the competition, but they cannot do it uh, for the legal purposes, because we have provided this information as a knowledge process outsourcing sort of a company. So this is all about and then another thing is which is, it's cheaper for them also, because agencies like us, they don't have to pay for insurances of the team members and so on and so forth. What they do is they pay a lump sum amount of money to us, or hourly basis, and then yes, we deliver the work to them. So that's the reason they reach out to us. So let me just see in my notes if I missed anything. Another thing which I would like to emphasize here. So CI is not alone a science and not alone an art. It's a combination of both art and a science. Um, Usually what happens in CI is you get bits of information. So it's like, in childhood we have done this. We all must have done this, connecting the dots and making a picture. So in the newspaper or in Madlev's books, there used to be like connect one dot with another. So there used to be numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and something like that. And when as a kid we used to connect those dots together, sequence by sequence, at the end we used to get a wholesome picture. And that's what CIA is all about. CIA is all about, we always do not get a whole picture or a whole information. We get some information from some places, we got some information from another places. Some is gathered by primary intelligence, some is gathered by secondary intelligence. Then we assess both, put them together and see that if it is making sense or not. And that's when, uh, after joining those each dot number by number, we get a whole picture that okay, yes, this is the whole picture of the competition, this is the whole story, and this is how a competitor landscape looks like. And this is, and then we are able to help our clients or support our clients in creating a go to market strategy. So in a go-to-market strategy, we also take part into war games. This is something which I will talk a little later once we cover some ground on the research part. Then we will talk about war games, or when I say war games, it's simulation workshops. So yeah, so that is what it is. I hope this video has been a little informative for you, and if you like it, kindly share it with others who might benefit out of it, or learn from it. Also, please like and comment on it, and I'll put my email address so that you can reach out to me for any questions or for any information. I'll be covering more ground every week, or earlier than that as well, if that's possible. So yeah, thank you for your time, thank you for listening. I hope you like it. Thank you, bye bye.